And moving on to our next panelist is Dr. Shagufta Jabi. Ma'am, my question to you is that what new skills and pedagogical approaches should teachers adopt to stay relevant in modern education? And my next question is that with rising mental health concerns, how can our schools effectively integrate social emotional learning into their curriculum? Over to you, Dr. Sabu.
All right, thank you very much. And I really must congratulate Minhaj Education Society for holding this conference, because this really is a breakthrough. So what I understand, you want me to do the relevance thing first and then the social emotional learning. When I look at this hall, I really get scared. Why? Because I feel like we are among the last generations. Those last generations who saw this word without technology first and then with technology. Because we are talking about school education. And we are talking about the young people who have never seen a word without technology. So for them, we are dinosaurs. Let's be honest. Think about it. We are talking about relevance. So when we talk of relevance and we're talking about how teachers can stay relevant in this era, we need to understand that by education we mean to prepare these students to do better in future. For that, a teacher must be aware of what is there outside in that future. So the time is short, so I'll just sum everything up that I want to say in 3 pointers. The first one, for the teacher to stay relevant, is necessary that what is taught is relevant, is related to the students. Of course, that's curriculum. And I did a research, and that was how many of the teachers are school leaders, are college leaders. They really have gone through the curriculum of Pakistan, the latest curriculum of Pakistan, the latest national education policy of Pakistan, the national standards for teachers which are decided, which are defined by the state. And to be honest, 90% of them hadn't gone through that. We talk of relevance. So the first thing, curriculum has to be relevant. I happen to be the one of the advisory board members for Single National Curriculum, and literally our teachers, they really don't know the difference between curriculum and syllabus, not to speak of implementing a curriculum. They haven't gone through that. So there are lots of things, like in Single National Curriculum 21st Century, skills are incorporated, entrepreneurial mindset is incorporated, patriotism is incorporated. My one point of divergence with the team of SNC was, when you are designing a new curriculum or revising the older one, and you are giving it back to the same teachers, it is exactly like you change a recipe and you give it back to the same old bad chef. I don't know what the result would be, right? But that is exactly that we did. And that is exactly that we are suffering through. So the second thing is, other than curriculum, the pedagogical practices. And when it comes to pedagogical practices, our teachers actually replicate the way they were taught. And again, being relevant means that you have to come out of giving the cognitive load in the classrooms. You have to move towards skills, and that is something that Dr. Hussain has been talking about. That's something Dr. Sajid has been talking about. So it's the skills that we have to focus on, but then study skills. Okay, I did my Fulbright, and for the first 2 weeks, we were given no assignment but to know what study skills are. And that is one thing that is lacking even now. And we have done these tests that when you tell the teachers to spend 1 week on incorporating study skills among the students, they really perform better. They perform good. So the teachers, for them to stay relevant in their classrooms, it's necessary for them to understand technology, and life is changing so fast because of it. There were times we were holding training on computer-assisted language learning, And we were establishing language labs in Pakistan, and we thought that we were doing like, some drastic measures, but to be honest, no. That one flip of AI, everything is gone. No language labs are required, So no computer-assisted language learning. It's all AI-assisted learning now. So instead of pedagogy, before we talk of educating the students, we really have to re-strategize the training system of our teachers. How are they hired? The hiring system. We have to professionalize the profession of teaching. So that is very necessary for the teachers to stay relevant. Lastly, assessment. Yes, it's very important. The way we are assessed determines the way we learn something, right? So assessment is a very important thing. We did one experiment and we changed the assessment system of classes prep 2-3 from the traditional assessment to informal assessment system. And believe you me, the most criticism that we received was from teachers. Why? Because informal assessment system would drag you out of your comfort zones. It's very easy to make a paper, right, and give it to the students, again, to check their cognition. However, to check the skills, when we talk of competency-based learning, because in national curriculum, especially English language was made competency-based. So when we are teaching competencies, we cannot assess knowledge. And to assess competencies, again, you have to be expert enough to be able to do that. So the first question I would close, Ms. Vakasia, by saying that it's the growth mindset of the teachers that matters to really stay relevant, to really predict what is out there in future, to understand the students. And one thing, break the silos of the subjects. You go to any classroom, that happens. Islamia teacher leaves, the students are in a different mindset. And then comes the maths teacher. The students suddenly move into another box. So, it's everything in the box. And they behave according to the temperament of the teacher. We really need to bring design thinking in our teaching. And we really need to break silos. We need to talk science in Islamiyat. We need to talk finances in Islamiyat. We need to talk Islamiyat in maths. So we have to break silos. We have to go interdisciplinary. So that is what is very necessary to stay relevant. And about the second part of the question, the socio-emotional learning of these students and how do you make sure. Being a trainer, I happen to be a tough mother also. So my son was like 1 year. I'm talking about 2010. And that was the time that we had gotten the boom of soft phones in Pakistan. And I just spread some newspapers and my child was, I would just, display certain pictures on the newspaper and put my toddler there, just to be familiar with the paper and everything, the psychology and all. So I was playing with psychology, and what my child did, there was a picture, and this is the paper, he's a toddler, and he's trying to do this. That actually shocked me, because it's a complete different cognitive framework that these children are bringing with them. For them, reading is not something which is passive. They want to really play with the learning material. So when we talk of cognitive behavior, it definitely means their socio-emotional behavior is also different. Our parents used to control our friends, who is going to be the on friend list or not, right? And we don't even know who is on the friend list of our kids, of the students, right? So relationships mechanism has changed. When relationship mechanism has changed, socialization has changed, of course, the self-awareness and social awareness needs to be reconsidered. And with the teachers, because I come to know there are more than 200 schools being represented in this hall. When you sit in your staff rooms, just imagine, I'm giving you a scenario. And that is, supposedly, there is a boy, Ahmed, is a little naughty, and you have just finished the class, and now you are handing the class over to, the next teacher. And you sit in the staff room and you say, okay, Naila, you're going to that class 4. Okay, beware of this boy, Ahmed. He's really naughty. So keep an eye on him. Don't be deceived. It's a very innocent conversation going on in the staff room. You have simply damaged the future of a child. Now, what is happening with the child? And on the other hand, the other side of the scenario, the child is very happy the class is over because Ma'am Naila was very tough on him. And he's now praying in his heart that, okay, now when Ma'am Aisha comes, I will be a very good child in that class. So I need to change my behavior. I'm going to be a good guy.
Sorry to interrupt.
But then...
Dr. Sahiba, please conclude.
Yeah, all right, so 50 seconds. So now the moment Miss Aisha comes in the classroom, she says, all right, tick, tick, tick. Who is present? Who is here? Ahmed. You are Ahmed. All right. And Ahmed's heart sinks that the stories have reached out, right? That is, again, a very big blow, very big stress, the toxicity of the stress that the child has. There would be so many stresses that the child brings from home, from the environment. So the behavior of the child for the socio-emotional learning, it's very necessary that when we focus on knowledge, we focus on skills, it is the last domain. We never talk about affective domain. We talk about, okay, RBT, solar taxonomy, all those blah, blah, blah taxonomies, no affective domain. But that is one domain that really needs to be paid attention to, because at the end, when we read Quran, we will not be assessed on the day of judgment, what was the verse number 4 of Surah Bani Israel. I will be asked whether I implemented that in my life, whether that transferred in my behavior or not. So that is very important. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Dr. Shagufta Jabi.